unveiling of the book. So Deepak, can you please get it? Mr. Vivek Batra, could you also please join us for the unveiling of the book? Yes. Thank you. Now, I would request Vaishali to take over and start with the beautiful moderation, yes, that we all are here for. Thank you so much. Before we start with the moderation of the event, I would request Mr. Honorable CM, Mr. Pramod Sawant, to do the keynote address for the event.
Good evening, friends. For the launch of book, The History That India Has Ignored, authored by the Prem Prakash, the respected dignitaries on the dais, the author himself, Mr. Prem Prakash ji, Madam Vaishali Joshi, respected dignitaries among the audience, esteemed members of the Prabhaketan Foundation, the friends from the literary world, my dear brothers and sisters. It gives me the immense pleasure to be present here today for the launch of the new edition of History That India Ignored by Prem Prakash. I think this is the second book I am inaugurating of Mr. Prem Prakash. It is a proud moment for me also to inaugurate the second book of him in the state of Goa. This is not just the release of book, it is a reaffirmation of the national responsibility to remember, to recognize and to restore our collective memories of those chapters of history that were either neglected or deliberately misrepresented. At the outset, I will congratulate Sri Prem Prakash ji, the publisher and everyone associated with these important publications to bring out the new edition of History That India Ignored. Releasing such book is not merely the literary event, and it is an act of the national service. Book like this is ensure that truth of the freedom struggle reaches the people, especially the younger generation. I have read this book carefully, and I must say that Sri Prem Prakash ji has undertaken the serious, painstaking research to bring forward the fact that were either forgotten or deliberately ignored. In an era where selectively the narratives often dominated public discourse, the book stands out for its commitment to evidence, documentations, and intellectually honesty. The book powerfully records the sacrifice of the hundreds of unsung freedom fighters, many of them barely in their teens and who went to gallows loving while fighting the British rules. It gives us to space to revolutionize and patriotize, and whose names is rarely appear in the textbook and whose courage led to the foundation of the independence of India. I would especially like to mention that the details and factually the accounts of Veer Vinayak Damodar Savarkar's life and sacrifice. His struggle has been grossly misrepresented by vested interest for the decades. Sri Prem Prakash ji has clearly explained how Savarkar was wrongfully arrested by the British on the French soil. After his dramatic escape, the attempt and how he has endured the unimaginable sufferings. I strongly recommended this chapter to the every student and the serious readers of the history. The book has also bring attention to the Battle of Imphatal found by the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, India's National Army. The author presented the compelling the presenters that, but for the external intervention, the course of the history could have been very different. Such honest assessment encouraging readers to think critically and independently about the India's freedom movement. As the Chief Minister of the Goa, the one chapter on this book holds the special significance for me, the chapter on the liberation of the Goas from the Portuguese rule. Goa's freedom struggle came much later than the rest of India. It involved the extraordinary courage, sacrifice and popular participations. The thousands of the Goan resisted colonial rule, faced imprisonment and tortures and laid down their lives so that the Goa could become the integral part of India. Unfortunately, Goa's liberation struggles has not received the national attention it is truly deserved. This book makes an important contribution by highlighting that the chapters of history. It is also noteworthy that Sri Prem Prakash ji personally witnessed the historic moment when the Portuguese administration surrendered and left Goa. His first-hand experience gives these accounts an authentic depth. Friends, this book will inspire the youth of our country. It teaches them the freedoms was not gifted to us. It is an earned through the sacrifice, discipline, and courage. It reminds the young India the questioning distorted narratives and seeking the truth, and it is not only a right but a duty. I appeal to the youth of Goa and India to study our history deeply, especially the regional freedom struggle like the Goa, and bring them to the national and a global stage. I encourage the young writers, scholars, filmmakers, and the digital creators to document the history not only through the books but also through the documentaries, podcast, digital platform, and the regional languages. The history must be told to the formats that connects with the today's generations. If we do not record our own stories, and others will interpret them for us into the often incorrectly. I once again congratulate Sri Prem Prakash ji and his publisher for his valuable contributions. History that India ignored is more than a book, it is a reminder, a correction, and an inspiration. I am confident that it will motivate the readers to rediscover the India's true freedom struggle and inspire the young mind to carry and legacy forwards. Once again, congratulations, sir.
Before we get into this, let me first remind you all that what was the objective of Mahatma Gandhi and Indian National Congress. They didn't want complete independence. They wanted home rule, dominion status. It is only few months, few weeks, I would say, before Sardar Bhagat Singh and his colleagues were hanged, that Jawaharlal Nehru at the Lahore Congress changed the objective of the Congress to say complete independence. Home rule would have meant what? We would even today have been a dominion with the British Crown as head of India. Would you have liked it? And this book is, in fact, tribute to all those people who fought and said, Bhagat Singh very clearly said, what is this that Gandhiji is asking? We are a great nation. We will have our own people to run the government. No, we don't need to be having head of state and sitting in England. So it's a thing that you'll find interesting yourself. It's all through goes with that. Go ahead now.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year to all of you. Since we're meeting, it's the very first event of 2026. And it's an absolute pleasure for me, as the Ehsas woman of Goa, to be sharing the platform with the Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Pramod Sawant ji, of course, the erudite, veteran, writer, journalist, and the chairman of ANI, Shri Prem Prakash ji, our very, very erudite audience. It's indeed a very, very proud moment for me, and I feel very privileged that I have been given this opportunity and this responsibility. We launched the Goa chapter of the Prabha Khaitan Foundation in 2023 with Shri Prem Prakash ji's book, Reporting India. I can see some familiar faces here who were here for that particular launch. And we're very happy that the Prabha Khaitan Foundation has gone on from strength to strength, and that we're launching the second edition of Kitab, not launching, sorry, but hosting the second edition of Kitab, which Shri Prem Prakash ji's History That India Forgot. My friend and Ehsas woman of Goa, Gaurapriya Paikani, has already given a very good introduction about, of course, Dr. Pramod Sawant ji, who does not require introduction to the people of Goa, and our erudite writer, Shri Prem Prakash ji. So, before we do anything and open up the house for people to ask questions, I'm sure that everybody is very intrigued with the title of the book, and people would like to know that, why this book has been written and what is the purpose behind it. But let's dive deep right into the book, because unlike in the right circle format, where we discuss in general, here we specifically talk about the book. Shri Prem Prakash ji, it's a very intriguing title, like I said before, and I know that you've been probably asked this question before. However, as cliched as it may sound, I would like to know, when was the first moment that you realized that Indian history wasn't simply incomplete, but selectively silent, and that this silence was shaping how the Indians see themselves?
Well, that also I found largely in Goa.
It's a little closer.
Because whoever you ask, one simple question, who got us independence? Simple reply would be, guy would wait for a moment. This is the situation today, you know. Mahatma Gandhi, Congress. No. Yes, they had a role to play, and as I pointed out to you earlier, it was only in December of 1930 that complete independence became the objective of the Congress and Mahatma Gandhi, for that matter. The fact also is that post-independent India has not treated the revolutionaries properly. Imagine, even before Indian National Army, there was Indian Republican Army, which captured Chittagong, which is reflected by the British as well as most historians since independence. Chittagong Armory raid. There was no raid on Chittagong Armory. Chittagong was captured by the Indian Republican Army. They cut off all the rail lines, communications, and of course then Armory fell in their hands. They never raided it. So this is where I find that the right history has been either totally ignored. The facts have been ignored. And I've worked very hard on this, and I was very lucky to get somebody very important in England who did all the research for me at the India office. Because many files by the British, they burned them before leaving because they would have disclosed the collaborators. But the files at India office are still intact. So you can even get the names of the collaborators there, but then those collaborators are dead and gone. So That's how.
While doing research for this interview, I came across a presentation by Jitendra Singh ji. And I like what he said. He said that he himself is a voracious reader and he has read books on the Indian history by Pakistanis, by Indians, by victims of the partition, etc. But he thinks the difference that, Mr. Prem Prakash ji has written this book is because he has lived, witnessed and recorded history. Unlike the other people who have written that, So I think I think that calls for a round of applause. Who actually decides what becomes official history in India today? And where does evidence end and institutional power begin?
Come again. Who actually decides?
Who actually decides what is the official history? What is the narrative of official history? Who decides that? And where does evidence end? Like we normally have history based on evidence. So where does evidence end and where does institutional power begin?
How would I really know? But the fact is that all the history that we have seen post-independence has ignored all these people. Is there a memorial to the revolutionaries anywhere in India? No. Even Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was only honored, 2 years ago or 3 years ago when his statue was installed in New Delhi, only 2-3 years ago. So isn't that a total distortion? These young people, 15-year-old, please read the book carefully. They sacrificed their lives. And so much, there were few of them who were alive, came out of the jail afterwards. And let me read out to you something from one of them. This was Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee. And he says, I'm pained to see ruler-like attitude. You know that Netaji never wanted the British-trained administration to continue. Even at Andaman and other places where he went, he installed his own administration. Indians who would be servants of the people, who would listen to the people. I mean, you go to the offices today, even today, in New Delhi or anywhere, what is the attitude of the administration? Ruler. You are subject. They are not there to serve you. They are there to oblige you. You are not looking for an obligation. They are answerable to you. Your leaders have been elected by you. Their poor fellows are answerable to you, but the administration that they have inherited is not answerable. It's not even answerable to them for that matter. So, if you read the Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, you got the book anyway, you will find it, how pained he was.
We often believe that history is supposed to be neutral. But is honesty more important or is neutrality more important? And I think from the narrative that you just read out, I think I already have my answer, but I'll still ask you to elaborate.
History should be factual, that's it. History should be factual. There's no such thing, honesty and dishonesty in this.
Shri Prem Prakash ji, you mentioned some unsung heroes in your book who you think deserved more importance in the annals of history. Well, it's difficult to touch upon all of them, but could you pick one or two, I mean, I wouldn't call them your favorites, but whom you would like to talk about, like maybe say Madan Lal Dhingra, Veer Savarkar as the Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister mentioned.
It will be very difficult for me to single them out. I took a lot of time getting all these names. Yes. And each one, including a 15-year-old one, they have sacrificed their lives. They were ladies. And in one case, this young lady threw the bomb. She managed to kill the, unfortunately it went on the wrong coach that had the wives of the officers. But the next moment, she took cyanide and died there itself. These were the people who got us independence. That they would make life miserable for them. The administration in many places, Bengal, this is the maximum, wouldn't know what can hit them next. Where can somebody appear? When independence came, what did Attlee say? He was asked this question, whether Gandhi's role had become at Congress, he was not able to deal with. This was asked by the governor of Bengal, acting governor of Bengal, who was Chief Justice of Bengal at that time. And what was Attlee's reply? In giving independence to India, Gandhi and Congress were considered minimal. The word minimal is used by him, not by me. He knew that in Imphal, Netaji had won the battle of Imphal, there had been revolution in India itself. But because Americans had used 2 atom bombs by that time, there was no force behind it. And it was the American Air Force which was helping the British fight Indian National Army in Imphal. That resulted in the defeat of Indian National Army. And that's where General Shah Nawaz and others were captured. And do you know that even when the trial of General Shah Nawaz and others were going on, the British were afraid that if these 3 are sentenced to death, which they were, but even before the death announcement, the announcement of the judgment could be made public, as it came, the Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army released all of them. They were so afraid that in case these 3 are hanged, there could be revolution in India.
Yeah, that is so very true. And I think you've also said in your book, I don't remember the exact quote, but you said that we are, creating a set of people who are very happy, a set of Indians, civil service people, and we are creating a set of Indians who are happy with that, while accepting the Dominion status.
I haven't been
Sorry. No, you've said in your book that we were creating, at that point of time, we were trying to accept the Dominion status. We were creating a set of Indians who were happy to be subjugated by the British.
That was the total objective of Indian National Congress and Mahatma Gandhi until 1930. Home rule, Dominion status. That would have been, if that had been granted by the British. What did the British do? They, during World War I, they assured Gandhi that you give us support and we'll do something after the war ends. Not only all the expenditure of the war was debited to India. Just imagine, we didn't fight that war. It wasn't our war. But all the money we paid for that war. And what did they tell Gandhi? India is not ready for it as yet. That was that.
So actually it's really, really been bold of you, and because you have lived through personally through all of these times, I think, I went through the book and I think it is very heartening to see that I can actually, feel that you, whatever you're writing is not just a written word, but there's a very high EQ, emotional quotient to it. Because like Jitendra Singh had said, you've actually lived through all of this history,
Thank you.
You wouldn't like to elaborate about anything to do with Madan Lal Dhingra or about Bhagat Singh? Bhagat Singh you just spoke about.
I've mentioned all of them there, but Madan Lal Dhingra was a very dear friend of Savarkar. And he belonged to a very rich family, highly anglicized in Lahore. And he was disowned by the father. And this wily fellow who was the intelligence man who knew his father, because these were all collaborators. He sent this message to his father that, look, your son is doing this, this, this. And Madan Lal shot him dead. But again, it took many years after independence to get his remains back to India or to install a statue for him in Amritsar. Why so much time? Why we don't still, sir, I'm asking you also, why we don't have a memorial for all these revolutionaries somewhere? We must. Thank you.
Since the book launch is happening in Goa, and you have an entire chapter dedicated to Goa, I also see Ralph D'Souza here. I think he has been of assistance.
Any questions, Ralph?
No, we'll come to the questions a little bit later. I just wanted to know, could you please share a few insights on Goa that you think the audience would probably not have been aware of prior to the book? We're all Goans here. We know about the Goan history. We've read about the Goan history. But can you share some of the, things which you think we may not have been aware of?
Oh, for that, I've been guided by Ralph.
Okay.
He's my researcher.
Yeah, I know. But, what did you think? What is it that we did not know about Goa? Because you have mentioned that in your book. I have been through it, so.
That Goa is a great place. It has made its own sacrifices. It's not that it didn't make sacrifices.
Yeah,
you read the Goa chapter.
Yes, I have.
Read the Goa chapter.
Yeah.
Goa has made extreme sacrifices for independence.
Right.
It's totally wrong to say that Goa didn't fight for independence. No, Goa made its own sacrifices.
Yes.
That's why that chapter is important.
Yeah, and we also received our independence much later than the country did,
Yeah.
So, you want to throw some light on that again? Why did you think that happened?
Why?
Why did Goa receive its independence so much later than India?
You see, again, non-violence. Government of India, Pandit Nehru kept talking, but the talks sometimes, you see, as the revolutionary said in the book I mentioned, these talks don't take you anywhere. Revolutionary knows what he wants and he gets it. Now, the talks were not taking them anywhere. It is only a fear because Americans were fighting in Asia at that time. Hong Kong, if I remember, when I first visited Hong Kong, it was much worse than a district of, a backward district in India. It was that kind of a city. But moment it became R&R Center, which is Rest and Recreation Center for American forces, its economy changed. And the fear was that Goa may be made one of those centers for the American forces. And because of that, even then reluctantly, because Krishna Menon, who was the defense minister, he pointed that out to Nehru that, listen, if Americans declare it or Portuguese are happy with it to go out to become R&R for the American troops, then it will become impossible for us to get it back. Hong Kong went back to Chinese because Hong Kong was on lease. That land was on lease. Goa was part of Portugal.
I mean, they can probably get more insight. But if the reader walks away remembering one thing differently, not a fact, but a way of seeing themselves as Indians. Like, after reading the book, it's not about facts. I'm talking about how do I think of myself differently as an Indian. What should it be?
What?
If I were to think of myself differently as an Indian after reading your book, what should that one thought in my mind be? I'm not talking about any fact. I'm not talking about...
Well, that I think you should tell me yourself, because I listen that what I presented here are facts about various, that they were, it's not only Congress and Gandhiji, but these young people, young women who have sacrificed. It's for them to...
And it must have taken you a lot of research, like you said, you also got from the archives in the UK and things like that. So, approximately how long did it take you to research and write this book?
The research part took a year and a half at the India office. I wish I could have found some more names, but these are all the names that I had.
Okay. Well, nowadays we believe in sequels, so there can always be a part 2 later. So that can always appear.
I would also like to invite your attention to a supplementary chapter in this book about Justice Paul. After the war, when Japan was defeated, MacArthur wanted a quick trial of the Japanese military officers and Japanese leaders along the lines of Nuremberg trials in Germany. The difference was there. Nuremberg trials were Germans had killed Jews in gas chambers. Japanese had done no such thing. So when Justice Paul arrived there were 14 other judges who told him, oh, this is how we are going to work and this is how we are going to do it. He said, but I have just arrived. I may not agree with you. So you must read the last chapter, and that shows why our relations with Japan are so close. Because Justice Paul argued in over 1300 pages judgment that there was no such thing as what happened in Nuremberg, and that whatever happened between Japan and China, or Japan during World War II, were the war crimes. War crimes are totally different from what happened in Germany. And so much so that a few years ago when Prime Minister Abe came to India, he went to Calcutta to meet grandson of Justice Paul. And he's the only one, Justice Paul, whose statue is there in Japan, in the war memorial there, in honor to him. Right.
That's very interesting to know. And finally, what kind of a reader did you hope would be disturbed by this book? I mean, obviously the idea of this book was to make people think, to not take anything for granted. So, what kind of a reader did you think would get disturbed by this? Disturbed meaning, like, would think about it or rethink his knowledge of history and, look into it.
Well, I've presented the facts. I hope this manages to clear the mind of some people, some friends, that this is what happened.
Yeah, but
Isn't it?
So many years of that narrative.
I mean, imagine the way I've been criticized a lot by other side. You know what I mean by other side, about Savarkar. I've only said, present me the fact. Give me the fact. Where has he apologized? Now as you know, what they did with him, first of all, they captured him from French soil. He was a very smart person. How he escaped. And not only that, when he had spent 11 years in Andaman cellular jail, he realized that whatever time is left in his life, he would not be able to do anything. Therefore, all he said was he won't take part in independence movement. He came back to organize Hindus. What did Gandhiji say after independence and when India was partitioned? I wish Hindus had supported me. So what is the difference between him and Savarkar for that matter? Gandhiji also said, I wish Hindus had supported me.
Actually, while reading this book, every page I had to stop because every page was full of so much information. And I really realized that I'm over my learning curve now. When I was in school and college, I used to absorb things much faster. Now I have to stop at every page because there's so much information out there. So I intend to again read this book a couple of times, because each chapter has to be sort of nicely digested. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just want to give you our one moment. Sir. One moment. Sorry for this. We'll take the questions in 2 minutes. We just, sir needs to leave, so just 2 minutes, please. Shruti, over to you.
Hello. This has been very, very insightful, but before we take on the questions, we would invite Mr. Ranjit Philippos to please felicitate our Honorable Chief Minister. Yes. And Mr. Srinamas Dempo to felicitate our Chief Minister.
Relaxly. They'll take the 15 minutes.
This is a Dokra art.
I'll only have to take it sitting down.
Let me give that to you.
Thank you very interesting session.
Beautiful.
Let the people ask the questions.
Thank you.
It's okay. I'll take it.